it may be the hour that is causing that. I rise on behalf of the Greens to address the Drug Supply Prohibition Order Pilot Scheme Bill 2020, and as my colleagues in the other place made abundantly clear, the Greens absolutely oppose this bill. This bill creates a pilot scheme for drug prohibition orders which will apply in the Bankstown Police Area Command, Coffs Clarence, Hunter Valley, Orana police districts for 2 years. Under the scheme, police will be able to seek an order for a person who has been convicted of a serious drug offence. If the order is made, police can stop, search and detain people without a warrant. It is clear that this is a bad bill, and I want to start by acknowledging the work that my Greens colleague in the other place, Greens Justice spokesperson David Shoebridge, has done, and the amendment that he was successfully able to pass in relation to this bill, making it slightly less bad by ensuring that the scheme can only apply to indictable offences. But there are a lot of other reasons that we, the Greens, oppose this bill. A lot of reasons for why it is a very, very bad bill. The scheme is essentially another version of the very dangerous Suspect Target Management Program, or STMP program, where people are placed on a list without their knowledge and can then be subjected to unlimited searches and other oppressive police interactions. In my community, in the community that I represent around Redfern, this is a particular concern with young people particularly being placed on the STMP program without their awareness, or obviously soon they become aware of it because the police are targeting them for no reason. They're not a suspect for any matter. That police just put them on a list and start targeting them. There is no substantial evidence that this has any impact on offending or in keeping communities safe, and in fact there is some evidence to suggest that this kind of interaction and action by the police actually causes a disconnect between those young people particularly, and for people from marginalised groups with their relationship with the police. It obviously does damage to that in the long term. I want to acknowledge that the Law Society of New South Wales and the Council for Civil Liberties have both raised concerns about this bill. It's also important to recognise that we have evidence that the impact of schemes like the STMP program have huge problems, and we know that young people, marginalised people of colour get unfairly disproportionately targeted by police. They're searched every day and for no identified reason. There will be more civil cases against police and more big payouts from the public purse, and mistrust of police will increase if this bill is passed. And sadly, it looks like this bill will pass, and it's an indictment on the government, but it's also really important for us to recognise that while we might have heard concerns raised by members of the New South Wales Labor Party in this place about this bill, unfortunately, this is what we're seeing as a bit of a pattern here. And it's probably not surprising because successive governments in New South Wales have taken a tough on law and order approach, a war on drugs approach, and it's not just the current Liberal National Government that's taken that approach. And I think it's important to recognise that while we might have heard from Labor members in the other place and in this place expressing their genuine concerns and outrage and disgust at elements of this bill and shock at elements of this bill, at the same time the Labor Party, let's be really clear, are supporting this bill. They're supporting the government in yet this more crackdown on the Drug Supply Prohibition Order pilot scheme. It's very clear that the police minister is not listening to the community when it comes to their concerns around policing in this state. The people of New South Wales do not support the unchecked increase in police powers. They do not support the endless erosion of people's civil liberties. People marching on the streets, calling back for a rollout and a rollback of police powers for more support for their communities instead of just more cops continues. And instead, the police minister is only listening to the police association. He is only listening to the demands that say that police should be given more and more powers, more and more money. And I say, is it not, like, at what point? And I think this is a point that the member for Balmain raised with me earlier, and I think it's really important. It's like a constant process of trying to patch up a hole and keep sticking these oppressive law and order regimes onto the community at the point where you realise that we don't solve changes in community behaviour, we don't solve drug addictions, we don't solve the challenges that people face that take them to get addictions, to drive them to do these kinds of things by just continuing to increase excessive police powers and the oppressive police powers over people in the community. How we change practice and behaviour is to take a harm minimisation approach. And I don't think it should be too much to ask that we limit searches by police to only when they can show they have a legitimate reason to conduct one. What we're talking about here is a piece of legislation that would allow police to search people, let's be clear, to stop, search and detain people without a warrant. That is why search warrants exist, to ensure that police are not unfairly targeting individuals with no evidence. And it is the job of members in this place to make sure people in positions of power... Speaker, can I ask that once again the Minister be called to order? It's a continual theme whenever I speak. And Speaker, for the record, I actually wasn't in the chamber during the Police Minister's second read. That is why search warrants exist, to ensure that police are not unfairly targeting individuals with no evidence, and it is the job of members in this place to make sure that people in positions of power in our community, people like police officers, are held to account for their actions. In the last decades, police have been given more and more powers. More and more public funding has been used to fight the so-called war on drugs, and it hasn't worked. Drug offences are up over the last 5 years. For most citizens in New South Wales, the war on drugs is more of a danger to them than drugs themselves. It is absolutely appalling that we are going to see, late into the night tonight, the New South Wales Labor opposition join with the government to pass this drug supply prohibition order pilot scheme bill. It is a disgraceful bill. It is a bill that the Greens oppose strongly and have serious concerns for the impact that it will have on vulnerable citizens in our community.
Okay.